Has Nintendo given up on Amiibo? The last new figures came out back in February, and with no new Amiibo announced on the calendar, it definitely feels like Nintendo might be sunsetting their Toys to Life brand. Let's talk about it. Hello there everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Amiibo and their current place in Nintendo's business strategy, I guess we'll say here, because over the past, really like 6 or 7 years, the implementation of Amiibo in games and just the frequency at which they release has been very weird. So like, you know, in 2017, there was quite a few. They were releasing for Switch games, but also 3DS games. You know, the Breath of the Wild Amiibo came out. Mario Sports Superstars had an entire Amiibo card line. The Metroid Samus Returns Amiibo happened. There was more Super Mario line Amiibo, I think, for Mario Party that year. Or maybe it was just for the Mario Odyssey, like, wedding Amiibo. And then, you know, in the following years, we would get varying amounts. We would get, like, third-party collabs from Solaire of Astora, from Dark Souls, or, like, the Loot Goblin Amiibo in Diablo 3. And then the past year and a half or so, it has just been like really dry. So the last game that Nintendo released that even supports Amiibo, I'm pretty sure, is Tears of the Kingdom, or at the very least supports it in any like real meaningful way. And that was the last game they released that got new Amiibo. The most recent Amiibo that have released are the Sora Amiibo, which came out back in February, and then we randomly got the Noah and Mio Amiibo in January. Those released alongside another code, Recollection. There's nothing announced right now, and it does make me wonder, like, what is their strategy moving forward, especially as we are talking about the Switch 2. Like, will they continue, you know, releasing new Amiibo for Switch 2 games in the coming years? I think that's a very interesting discussion to have. You know, every other Toys to Life brand dried up. Skylanders, Disney Infinity, Lego Dimensions, those are all dead. Even Starlink, if you count that. Like, Amiibo have been around the longest. They've lasted by far the longest. And I guess a certain strength comes from Amiibo not being, you know, like a specific video game. They did like the Tap Amiibo game on Wii U, but like there's not really like a game you buy to play with your Amiibo with, right? So just having a couple that people buy, mostly not even to use in the games, just as a cool figure, a memento of a game they like, is really cool, and it sets them apart from other Toys to Life. But I definitely question how Nintendo views them in terms of like their business strategy, because this year, like I said, we've gotten 3 Amiibo, or really 2 releases, but one of them was a 2-pack. Xenoblade 3 getting Amiibo was really weird so late. I mean, Future Redeemed at this point is over a year old, but at that point it was like, what, 9 months old? So that was pretty late. That game was done getting updates. Sora, of course, was the final Smash Bros. Amiibo, which is what kind of felt like, you know, that was like maybe the final new Amiibo almost, you know? Maybe they were just kind of doing Amiibo while they were doing the Smash Bros. Line, and now they're done. I doubt that. I do think there will be more. It always felt like there was a certainty that there would be more. Right now, that doesn't necessarily feel like the case. But, you know, there are plenty of games this year that I feel like could have had new Amiibo released alongside them. I'm pretty sure there was a data mine or something suggesting there would be 2 new Splatoon 3 Amiibo, and I kind of assumed that would release alongside Side Order. That did not happen. Maybe we still end up getting Splatoon 3 Amiibo. They don't have to release them alongside, you know, the DLC, as we saw with Noah and Mio. So maybe we'll get more Splatoon 3 Amiibo later in the year, alongside like maybe the final big update for Splatoon 3 or something. But they could have also done Amiibo for Princess Peach Showtime. They could have done an Amiibo for Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, or even Luigi's Mansion 2. I know those last 2 are remakes or remasters, but I think it would have been fine. You know, I don't think anybody would have been complaining if they made a Paper Mario Amiibo, or if they made a Luigi's Mansion 2 Amiibo that has Luigi, or like a Polterpup Amiibo. Those felt like great candidates. In fact, Luigi's Mansion 3 should have had Amiibo. It's not like there's just a lack of games for them to release Amiibo alongside. I mean, those are all 3 of those games are Mario games, so they definitely could have done stuff with that. Even Mini Mario, actually, now that I think about it, for Mario vs. Donkey Kong would have been a fantastic Amiibo, but they didn't do Amiibo for any of those. What I do find weird, though, what I find especially odd and peculiar about this entire situation is how many Amiibo they've been restocking. Now, if you don't go on social media, if you don't, you know, go in store a lot, I guess, or, you know, look at online retailers, that kind of thing, you might not know this, but they have been restocking a ton of Amiibo. It's been great for me because when I first moved out from my parents' house, I sold all my Amiibo because I was broke, and you know, so I've recently been rebuying those because I enjoy collecting Amiibo. But in America, they've been restocking a ton of Smash Bros. Amiibo, and recently, I think in the UK, They restocked all of those Smash Bros. Amiibo on top of like the 4 Fire Emblem Amiibo from like 2017. They restocked the Wedding Mario Odyssey Amiibo. They restocked the little series of Kirby Amiibo. Late last year, they restocked the Hey Pikmin Amiibo. They're just restocking like everything. There's a couple oddities that they haven't done yet. Like in America, we haven't gotten the Octolines from Splatoon 2 yet, which I'm still hoping for, but the UK got those, so I imagine those will happen eventually. But they're restocking basically everything. I think it's only a matter of time before we see the entire Smash line reprinted, which is awesome. They even went to the efforts of redoing the packaging. I made a short about this, I think, late last year, but starting, I think, around the time that the Splatoon 3 Idols came out, so like Big Band and all that, right? I think it was around there that they changed the backing, so it used to like show like a Wii U or a Switch or a 3DS on the back of the box saying like, hey, scan this amiibo to get rewards in game. Now it just kind of has this generic amiibo logo and flavor text basically just being like, you can use these in video games on Nintendo platforms. In fact, let me grab one. Does it even mention Switch? Yeah, it just says use amiibo accessories in many compatible games. And that is literally it. It doesn't even mention the Switch like in the fine print or anything. So part of me thinks like maybe this is them future-proofing for the next console. But part of me is like, well, why are they doing that to begin with? Why right now, really, you know? The Switch is still their primary console. So why do this now? It's also just really boring. I don't like this new back of the box, but that's besides the point. I do think that the fact that they're restocking all of these amiibo, I guess it could be taken both ways. I think it's a good sign that they're, you know, while they're not releasing that many new amiibo, they are making an effort to restock these old amiibo, so there's still something for you to buy if you didn't already have them. But at the same time, I could see the argument be made that the fact that they're reprinting all of these amiibo is maybe then, like, kind of just sunsetting it. Like, hey, this is it. This is the final time we're reprinting Bayonetta Player 2. You better buy it now before it skyrockets in price, you know, that kind of thing. This is your final chance to get this amiibo before we really sunset the brand. I could see both arguments. I really hope Nintendo doesn't, you know, get rid of amiibo and stop making new amiibo into the next console generation, because even though the compatibility within games has really just gotten weaker over the years, you know, normally you scan it, you get like a power-up or some currency or like a couple items, that kind of thing, right? I like having it as like the Nintendo collectible. Like, I think for Nintendo fans, having the centralized collectible that can be Bayonetta, once again, for example, I think that's really cool. And we certainly wouldn't have gotten figures of Noah and Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles if it weren't for amiibo. So I really hope Nintendo keeps this around, even if they're only releasing like 2 or 3 a year. It's just nice to have that like centralized figure that Nintendo fans collect. They all have this uniform box, and, you know, it's OCD. I keep mine in my box, but they all look nice on a shelf. They all line up perfectly. I really hope they don't stop doing that, even if it is like basically no compatibility in games, and then yeah, it's just one or 2 or 3 a year. I would be okay with that, or, you know, at the very least, I would prefer that to having no amiibo. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think I'm onto something here? Do you think there's something going on? Because I can't remember the last time that we had a no amiibo announced. I'm sure there was some point where, like, we didn't know of any, but at the same time, we kind of did because of Smash Bros. We always knew there would be more Smash Bros. Characters, but right now, we're done with Smash Bros. It took over 2 years for the Sora amiibo to come out, but now that it's out, there's really no indication that we will be getting any more, aside from, like I said, that maybe that Splatoon 3 data mine. I believe that happened. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you think Nintendo is going to handle amiibo in the future? Do you think they'll keep restocking the old ones? Do you think they'll keep making new ones? Or do you think moving into this next generation of Nintendo with the Switch 2, do you think it's finally time that they stop releasing them? I would love to get a conversation going down in the comments below. And actually, I have one final question here. How do you feel about amiibo compatibility in games? Like, I remember back in 2014, 2015, there were a lot of people upset with, like, Splatoon, for example, for having locked stages and, like, locked weapons behind amiibo. Do you prefer when amiibo have, like, really good, unique content? Or do you prefer when it is just, like, a power-up or something that you can really earn at any point in the game? As someone who's buying the amiibo, I like when I get something unique for it, but also I can understand, like, you know, I think at the very least, it should be something you can unlock in the game with a lot of grinding. Maybe the amiibo just gives you a fast track to unlock it or something, but I can see both sides of the argument for sure. But yeah, of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, discussions, all of that fun stuff. I will have a Final Fantasy IX review, very separate from this, but I will have a Final Fantasy IX review going up on Sunday. Look forward to that. And until next time, folks, peace.